The reign of Sultan Selim III stands as one of the most dramatic and cautionary episodes in Ottoman history. His ambitious attempt to modernize the empire's military and administration ended not in renewal but in rebellion, deposition, and assassination. The collapse of his reform program revealed the dangers of imposing change from above in a state where traditional power structures remained deeply entrenched. By the late 18th century, the Ottoman Empire faced mounting challenges. Military defeats against European powers exposed the obsolescence of traditional institutions, while economic strain and administrative decay weakened central authority. Selim III, a ruler with a strong interest in European ideas and diplomacy, believed that reform was no longer optional but essential for survival. At the center of his reform agenda was the creation of a modern army trained along European lines. This force, established outside the authority of the Janissaries, was designed to introduce discipline, modern tactics, and centralized control. While strategically necessary, the decision struck at the heart of the empire's most powerful and politically active military institution. The Janissaries had once been elite soldiers loyal to the Sultan, but over time they had transformed into a conservative force resistant to change. Their influence extended beyond the battlefield into politics, trade, and urban life. Reform threatened not only their military role but also their economic privileges and social status. As Selim's reforms expanded, opposition hardened. Janissary leaders framed modernization as an attack on tradition and religion, portraying the new army as an alien institution inspired by foreign customs. Rumors spread through Istanbul that reforms would destroy established norms and undermine the empire's identity. Economic hardship intensified unrest. New taxes introduced to fund the modern army burdened an already struggling population. Urban workers, shopkeepers, and soldiers alike felt the strain. Opposition leaders exploited these grievances, turning public frustration into political resistance. The central government underestimated the depth of this opposition. Selim attempted to avoid direct confrontation, believing compromise could preserve stability while allowing reform to continue. This strategy proved ineffective. By refusing to decisively neutralize the Janissaries, Selim left his reform program vulnerable. In 1807, tensions erupted into open revolt. Janissary units marched through the capital, joined by conservative factions and discontented civilians. Government authority collapsed rapidly as officials fled or aligned themselves with the rebels. The modern army, still small and politically isolated, was unable to intervene. Selim III was forced to abdicate the throne. His removal marked the complete failure of his reform movement. The institutions he had created were dismantled, and reformist officials were arrested, exiled, or executed. The victory of the rebels reaffirmed the power of conservative forces within the empire. Following his deposition, Selim was imprisoned under close guard. Although no longer ruler, he remained a symbol of reform and a potential rallying point for opposition to the new regime. This made his survival politically dangerous. As instability continued, fear of Selim's possible restoration grew. During a subsequent power struggle, he was killed while in captivity. His death shocked the empire and confirmed that reform had crossed a line that traditional forces would not tolerate. The assassination of a former sultan by internal actors represented a profound rupture in Ottoman political culture. It demonstrated that imperial legitimacy alone could no longer protect a ruler who challenged entrenched interests. Authority now depended as much on managing power groups as on occupying the throne. The failure of Selim's reforms had lasting consequences. It convinced many within the elite that modernization could not succeed without first eliminating resistance from institutions like the Janissaries. Half measures and cautious compromise had proven insufficient. At the same time, the episode highlighted the risks of reform from above. Selim's policies lacked broad social support and were imposed through imperial decree rather than gradual consensus. Without public backing or reliable enforcement, reform became a catalyst for instability. In the years that followed, the empire entered another period of uncertainty. Conservative forces temporarily regained control, but the underlying problems Selim had tried to address remained unresolved. Military weakness, administrative inefficiency, and economic decline continued to threaten the state. Historians now view Selim III as a tragic reformer, aware of the empire's needs but constrained by its realities. His failure was not due to lack of vision, but to the political structure in which he operated. The state lacked the centralized power necessary to overcome internal opposition. Ironically, Selim's death strengthened the case for reform rather than ending it. Later leaders drew lessons from his downfall, concluding that modernization required decisive action and the removal of obstructive institutions. These conclusions would shape future reforms. The violent end of Selim III revealed the deep tension between tradition and survival within the Ottoman Empire. Reform threatened established identities and privileges, while resistance threatened the state itself. The clash between these forces defined the empire's final centuries. From a historical perspective, Selim's assassination marked a turning point. It exposed the cost of delay and compromise in the face of systemic decay. Reform could no longer be tentative or symbolic. It had to be comprehensive and enforced. The episode also demonstrated that modernization was not merely a technical challenge, but a political one. Introducing new armies and institutions required restructuring power relations, not just adopting foreign models. Selim III's reign ended in tragedy, but his legacy endured. He was the first Ottoman ruler to openly confront the empire's need for change, even at the cost of his life. His failure underscored a harsh truth. Reforming an empire from above, without neutralizing entrenched opposition, could be more dangerous than maintaining the status quo. In the broader narrative of Ottoman decline, the fall of Selim III stands as a warning. Reform, when imposed without unity, can provoke collapse rather than renewal. Yet, without reform, decline becomes inevitable. The Ottoman Empire would continue to struggle between these two realities for more than a century after Selim's death.